Bonjour et bienvenue dans la salle de presse de la Commission européenne. Merci aussi de nous suivre en direct sur Europe by Satellite, aujourd'hui, vendredi 3 septembre. Je commencerai les annonces d'aujourd'hui avec des détails sur l'agenda de la présidente von der Leyen pour la semaine prochaine. Donc, lundi dans l'après-midi, la présidente présidera la réunion de haut niveau du nouveau European Bauhaus européen. Mercredi, elle présidera également la réunion du Collège des commissaires, la première réunion depuis la rentrée, après les vacances d'été. Et jeudi, la présidente participera à une discussion avec la conférence des présidents du Parlement européen en préparation des discours sur l'état de l'Union que la présidente prononcera le 15 septembre à Strasbourg. And now allow me to invite Stefan to provide you some news regarding vaccines.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today, the European Commission and AstraZeneca have reached a settlement agreement which will put an end to the pending litigation cases before the Brussels court. This settlement agreement secures the delivery of the remaining COVID-19 vaccine doses to member states due under the advance purchase agreement. Under this settlement agreement, AstraZeneca has the firm commitment to deliver, in addition to the 100 million doses which have been delivered by the end of the second quarter of this year, another 135 million doses in 2021, and 65 million doses by end of March 2022. Of the 135 million doses due in 2021 this year, 60 million will have to be delivered by the end of quarter 3 and 75 million by the end of quarter 4. This will bring the total number of doses delivered to 300 million, as was agreed under the advanced purchase agreement. Member states will receive regular delivery schedules, and finally, capped rebates will apply on the cost of each delayed dose. As usual, you will find more information on this news on our press corner. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup Stéphane. Ensuite, je voudrais aussi vous rappeler qu'aujourd'hui, c'est le deuxième jour de la réunion des ministres des Affaires étrangères en format gymnique qui a lieu à Brdo en Slovénie. Le haut représentant vice-président Josep Borrell préside cette réunion et la commissaire Urpilainen participe aussi aux discussions d'aujourd'hui. Après leurs discussions sur l'Afghanistan qui ont eu lieu hier, les ministres auront aujourd'hui des échanges sur la région du Golfe, la région Indo-Pacifique et la Chine. Les ministres recevront les ministres des Affaires étrangères de l'Inde pour un déjeuner de travail. Il y aura une conférence de presse avec le haut représentant. Elle est en fait sur le point de commencer. Vous pouvez la suivre sur EBS Place maintenant ou plus tard, bien sûr, en enregistré. Et comme hier, notre collègue Peter Stano est sur place pour cette conférence de presse. Je vous prie donc de garder vos questions sur les affaires étrangères pour cette conférence de presse ou bien pour Peter pour plus tard. And finally, before starting with your questions today, we want to pay tribute to Mikis Theodorakis, the Greek composer and political activist who passed away yesterday at the age of 96. Theodorakis was a part of Greece's soul. I'm sure that most of you remember him from his famous Sirtaki from the film Zorba the Greek, which has probably become one of the most recognizable and emblematic piece of Greek music. But his impact was not just in music. He was a symbol of resistance against tyranny and totalitarianism, as shown in his emblematic ballad of Mauthausen. We can all take inspiration from his famous words. I quote, "I am not a hero. Heroes die young. I'm just the citizen who does his duty. Today, we join Greece and the Greek people in paying tribute and homage to this exemplary citizen. Thank you very much. With that, we can start with your questions. So please indicate in the system if you have any questions for us today. I see that Matthijs has a question. Matthijs, go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. This is Matthijs Schiffers, het Financiële Dagblad. I have a question regarding Brexit. If I'm correct, there are some deadlines at the horizon again, and I was wondering if there are any conversations planned the coming weeks with the UK, and when, especially the Joint Committee, of course.
Thank you very much, Matthijs. I will invite Dan to provide you an answer to this question.
Hi, Matthias, and thanks very much for your question. I think you would have seen over the summer the UK came forward with its command paper. Since then, we have been in contact at technical level with the UK, both here in Brussels and in London. So contacts have been ongoing over the past couple of weeks, and you can expect them to continue over the coming weeks. You can also expect there to be some form of contact at political level, but I cannot confirm at this exact moment in time when they will take place, but stay tuned for that. Beyond that, I wouldn't have any comment to make on substance. As you know, the protocol in Ireland and Northern Ireland is a solution that was found to avoid a hard border on the island to protect the Good Friday Belfast Agreement. We are in a very constructive spirit. We know that there are implementation issues. We are looking into those. We are in contact with London, with stakeholders in Northern Ireland, with political representatives, and that work is ongoing. But again, in substance, I have nothing new to provide you with right now.
Thank you very much. I will now invite you to raise your hand if you have additional questions for Dan on Brexit. So, questions on relations with the UK? Nobody in the room? Yes, but Catherine online. Catherine, go ahead.
Hello. Hello, Dan. I think my question may not be for Dan, though, but it is Brexit related. In the minutes of the 9th of June Partnership Council, it's reported that there are delays in implementing the UK's participation in EU programmes. And I'm just wondering if there's any explanation for this delay. Is the delay linked to anything else, for example, respecting the current agreements, in particular the Northern Ireland Protocol? And is the Commission under any onus to agree to UK participation by a certain date? Thank you.
Dan.
Thanks, Catherine. And as I was in contact with you, I think, on this earlier this week, no, I have no specific update to give you right now. Internal work on this is ongoing, and for anything else, I don't know whether Johannes wants to add anything, but for the moment, no update on that front.
And no updates from Johannes, I understand. So that's good. Any additional questions for Dan on measures in relation to the UK? That is not the case. So now I will open the floor for other questions, and I see that Irini has a question.
Thank you, Dana, for the floor. It is a health issue on health issues. And I would like to ask on capital rebates, what exactly does it mean, and how the EU Commission is going to react in case AstraZeneca will not keep its promises once more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irini. Stefan is joining me to provide an answer.
Thank you very much for this, Irini. Indeed, one of the important elements of the settlement agreement is that there is a firm commitment of the company to make deliveries at certain dates. There are very strict delivery arrangements. And this comes hand in hand with, indeed, an obligation of capped rebates in case the delivery of doses is delayed. So, and the rebates, the capped rebates, depend on how long the delay is. The capped rebate for non-delivered or delayed doses amounts to 10% in the case of 1 month of delay, 25% in case of 2 months of delay, and 40% for 3 months of delay or more. And so these are the capped rebates, the thresholds we bear in mind to make sure, indeed, among other things, that we have a solid delivery of the different doses due by the company. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stefan, are there additional questions for Stefan on this matter? Yes, please go ahead.
Oui, merci Dana, c'est Elodie du soir. On va encore recevoir 200 millions de doses d'AstraZeneca. Je me demandais, est-ce qu'on a vraiment besoin de ces doses? Est-ce qu'elles vont être délivrées aux États membres comme prévu ou est-ce qu'on va juste les donner à COVAX? Et alors, je sais qu'il y avait un prorata réservé par chaque État membre. Est-ce que tu as peut-être un détail, Stéphane, sur quels États membres ont déjà renoncé à une partie de leurs doses? Merci.
Merci beaucoup. En ce qui concerne la livraison des 200 doses, d'abord, ce que je tiens à souligner, c'est que le vaccin de AstraZeneca fait partie de notre portefeuille. C'est un vaccin efficace, c'est un vaccin sûr, comme ça a été clairement démontré à plusieurs reprises par l'EMA, et donc c'est un vaccin important. C'est une des raisons pour lesquelles plusieurs États membres ont besoin de ce vaccin pour l'organisation de leur campagne de vaccination. Donc, il y a un besoin de plusieurs États membres d'avoir ce vaccin. En plus, n'oublions pas que notre campagne, notre stratégie de vaccin fait partie d'une stratégie de solidarité globale. Nous voulons assurer une solidarité avec les autres pays dans le monde qui ont aussi besoin de nos vaccins, et c'est une des raisons pour lesquelles les États membres peuvent décider d'utiliser une partie de leurs vaccins, qu'il s'agisse d'AstraZeneca ou d'autres vaccins, pour respecter leurs engagements à l'égard de l'autre partie du monde qui en a besoin aussi. Merci.
Thank you so much. Stefan, are there additional questions for Stefan on this issue? Yes, I believe that Gillian has a question about that. Go ahead, Gillian.
Thanks so much. I have 2 questions actually on the settlement. The first is a bit more technical of a question. We know that many EU countries will be donating their doses to other countries outside the European Union. I was just wondering if you could give us a ballpark percentage of how many doses will be donated in the end. My second question is a bit more broad. Because of the settlement, we have a new schedule for the remaining 200 million doses to be delivered by the end of March next year. Considering the EU did not get what it wanted in terms of sped up deliveries, I was wondering whether you could comment on whether this lawsuit was worthwhile and why. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Listen, with regard to the actual donation of the member states, I would like to stress again that this is a decision which is taken by the member states. So the member states decide how they will live up to the commitments that they have taken upon themselves. This being said, I would like to refer to the very strong commitment that Team Europe has expressed, for instance, to ensure the donation of 200 million doses by the end of the year. And again, member states and Commission are working together on turning this commitment into a reality for the rest of the world. That's one thing. Second, on the lawsuit, was it worthwhile introducing a lawsuit? Listen, we have never changed our fundamental goal. Our fundamental goal has been from the beginning the delivery of a sufficient number of doses. The number of doses was laid down in the initial advanced purchase agreement. Then, as you know, we had some implementation issues, which has led in the end to litigation before the Brussels court, but always with the same purpose, to ensure the delivery of a sufficient number of doses. We are now beyond the litigation phase. We have now reached a settlement agreement which is in the interest of both parties, which has strict delivery arrangements, which has the firm commitment to deliver these doses. So we continue to work towards the achievement of our goal together with the company on the basis of this new settlement agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Regarding donations, I could perhaps just add that as far as the percentages and the volume of each different vaccine that is concerned by these donations, it is for the member states to decide, and it is them who know what vaccines and in what quantities they are planning to donate in order to reach the target that we have together set of donating 200 million doses by the end of this year. Are there any additional questions on this settlement for Stefan? So please only keep your hand up at this stage if you have questions for Stefan on this matter. I see that Moses' hand is up. So Moses, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Dan. I also have a follow-up question to Stefan on this issue, because I was a bit surprised that the Commission decided to go for a settlement. After all, I mean, we needed those doses in the beginning of the year. Then, as you said, there were these implementation delivery delays. And not only that, the vaccine from AstraZeneca is considered as less safe and effective than other vaccines. And that also explains, I suppose, why so many member states decided not to use them, although they needed them during the spring, but instead to donate them to COVAX. So my question is, and now in the meantime, it seems to me that member states, we have made up for those missing doses, and the member states have received vaccine doses from other producers in order to reach vaccination goals, as we talked about before. So would it be more correctly, say, to try to demand a compensation for that failure earlier this year, and instead, let's say, ask AstraZeneca by themselves to donate themselves those million of doses to other countries, which I suppose need them better than the member states in this phase of the vaccination campaigns. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mose. I think what is really important for us is that we now have left the litigation state. We are beyond the litigation state. There is a need for vaccines in the different member states. There is a need for vaccines in other parts of the world. And so the AstraZeneca vaccine is part of our portfolio, is part of the reply that we give to tackle the different needs that are out there. And so on this basis, we have the settlement agreement with clear delivery arrangements, with capped rebates, with firm commitments, and so on. And this is what we are focusing on. The litigation is behind us. We now work together with the company to indeed ensure the delivery of the vaccines that we need. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stefan, are there any additional questions? Yes, Javier, go ahead.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
All good, go ahead.
I have a question with regards to why is the EU so keen on getting the AstraZeneca vaccines, because even some estimates say that you could reach your goal without even getting these doses. And also on the ground, it seems that you've only pretty much deployed just a small percentage of the vaccines.
Stefan, once more.
Yes, thank you very much. Again, we need a vaccine. The vaccine is part of our portfolio. The AstraZeneca vaccine is a safe and effective vaccine, as was confirmed several times by EMA. Several member states need the vaccine, which is part of their vaccination campaign, part of their vaccination strategy. They need it for the implementation of their strategy and to ensure a sufficiently high number of vaccinations. So that's one reason why it's very important to have these vaccines. Another reason is what I explained before. Our vaccine strategy is part of our global approach to ensuring global solidarity with the rest of the world. As you know, the virus and its variants are not limited to the European Union, but they strike everywhere in the world. We need to make sure that the virus is tackled everywhere in the world. As long as there is still a virus out there, the battle is not over. And this is one of the reasons why our vaccine strategy ensures the purchase of a sufficiently high number of vaccines so that we can indeed translate our commitment to help those countries that need it most into actual deliveries of needed vaccines. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Are there any additional questions on this, on the AstraZeneca settlement? I do not see any, so yes, Catherine, go ahead.
Just a very short question, Dana. Is the EU still paying 30% of the costs of the proceedings, and how much is this?
Listen, I cannot comment on this particular issue. We have a settlement agreement. We're now going to implement the settlement agreement. The litigation is behind us, but I have no further comments to offer on this at this stage, I'm afraid. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. I understand now that Maria has a question for Stefan, but it's not on AstraZeneca. So, if that's the case, if you still have a question for Stefan, Maria, go ahead.
Yes, hello, thank you for the floor. I would like to ask about the new variant, the MU. Are you concerned? What's the news you have from ECDC and EMA? And do the vaccines cover this variant? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we are, of course, always concerned about all the variants of the virus. We have taken already a long time ago several steps to be well prepared for the emergence of future variants, new variants, which is, for instance, one of the reasons why we conclude the third contract with BioNTech Pfizer to tackle new variants. On this particular variant, I think it is best that you contact directly the colleagues of the European Medicines Agency and European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control, as they offer the necessary scientific support to offer you, I think, more relevant information for your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Are there any additional questions for Stefan on coronavirus vaccines or health-related issues? That is not the case, so thank you very much, Stefan. And I will now open the floor to other questions. Let me know if you have any. And indeed, Mose has a question. Go ahead, Mose.
Thank you, Lana. Thank you for giving me the floor again. In fact, I wanted to follow up, let's say, Foreign Affairs issue, but it's not about what happened today, the Foreign Affairs Council, but more the previous Justice and Home Affairs Council last week, which dealt also with Afghanistan and resettlement in Europe, as you remember. I wrote about it, but I'm not clear I've understood everything correctly. What I wanted to ask is whether there was, let's say, a consensus by the member states not to allocate more, let's say, resettlement places or humanitarian visas to Afghan refugees, besides those who were rescued and airlifted from Kabul after the Taliban take over. Does that mean that the so-called pledging of places, which we talked so much about before, and it was also, let's say, promised, I would say, by the Commission President von der Leyen, that has in fact stopped, or maybe it never took place? And in this regard, as you know, there are some Afghan refugees being stranded at the border between Belarus and Poland and Lithuania. And as you know, European Court of Human Rights issued an interim ruling on that they should be supported and helped. And my question is then whether, let's say, these Afghan refugees at the border, are they regarded by EU as illegal migrants which have been, let's say, instrumentalized by the regime in Belarus, and therefore they don't have even a right to apply for asylum or enter any member state? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your complex questions, Moses. So you refer to two different things there. You refer to Afghanistan and efforts and discussions in the EU about possibilities to help Afghans, including perhaps through resettlement. And secondly, you refer to the very different situation at the Polish-Belarus border. And Christian will try to touch upon both these points separately.
Yeah, thank you, Dana. Thank you, Mose, for your question, which is indeed quite broad. But let me maybe sum up a little bit where we stand. I mean, you know that the statement adopted by the Home Affairs Council a few days ago was basically confirming the approach that the Commission has been pushing for, which is a comprehensive approach to avert a migration crisis, in the first instance by preventing a humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. Currently, we are not seeing big movements of Afghans to neighboring countries, but we need to be prepared for different scenarios to protect those in immediate danger and reinforce capacity of countries in the region, allowing for dignified and safe reception conditions, and sustainable livelihood for refugees and host communities. We are also continue to call on member states to engage in voluntary resettlement efforts and secure safe pathways. Let me just clarify again that there is of course a difference between the evacuation efforts that have taken place and then the question of voluntary resettlement efforts. For the latter, we will also soon organize or urgently organize a new high-level resettlement forum. And yeah, again, our approach will of course also address risks of irregular migration, reinforce border management capacity, and prevent smuggling of migrants and trafficking in human beings. So this work is in progress. On your question regarding Belarus, I mean, I will now not offer a legal analysis on individual cases. You know that for this is always a question of an individual assessment for a member state, and so you know that more generally, I think our position was quite clear. That of course, individual cases always need to be looked at in line with relevant EU law, international obligations. We're in contact with the Polish authorities and with UNHCR on this matter. Of course, member state must ensure the effective management of the external border in line with EU law and in full respect of people's fundamental rights. And we will continue our contacts to address this situation. And let me also remind, of course, our very firm position towards the actions of Belarus here, which are unacceptable, and which we have stressed many times, that people should not be instrumentalized politically in such situations.
Thank you very much. Are there any additional questions for us today? Indeed, Mose. Go ahead. You have a follow-up.
Yes, thank you very much. Usually I don't ask any follow-up questions to save time, but in this case I have two very brief follow-up questions to Christian. And the first one is, can you confirm, say, figures in media recently that at least some member states have volunteered to accept a certain number of and reset in the country of a certain number of migrants, for example, Greece? And the other question is, I think you said before that although you cannot comment, and understand that, on the ruling and so on, but still you said before that the Commission is monitoring the situation, and I would like to know and ask you whether the Commission knows if there have occurred any, let's say, improvement in the humanitarian situation of those Afghan migrants who are stranded at the border with Poland and not allowed to enter the country. Thank you.
Yes. On the first question on the pledges, I cannot confirm that at this stage. You know that there is a process in place overall on resettlement, not just referring to Afghanistan, of course. We're following up on the high-level resettlement forum from July, where we are waiting for and expecting pledges from member states by the mid of this month. And yeah, this is a voluntary effort by member states, and we of course encourage them to come forward with pledges there. But at this stage, I'm not in a position to confirm any pledges or figures. This is also not the moment now. On your second question, I'm afraid I don't have much more to add. You know, I mean, I think we have commented on this. We have, of course, aware of the judgment of the European Court of Human Rights. Poland is a signatory to the European Convention of Human Rights, and of course required to implement the measures. Again, from our side, we made contact with the Polish authorities and also with the Latvian authorities, where there's a similar situation, as well as with UNHCR in relation to the situation. And we continue to be in touch with them with a view to ensuring effective management of our external borders in full respect of union law and fundamental rights.
Thank you so much, Christian. Are there any additional questions for Christian on his files or on migration today? That is not the case. Thank you very much, Christian. And oh yes, sorry, I didn't see you. Go ahead.
Khalid Hamid Faruqi from Geo Television News and Young Group of Newspaper. Taliban were scheduled today to announce their government. They have postponed for tomorrow. It seems that some of European powers are softening their stance. Dominic Raab, of British Foreign Minister, traveling to Pakistan to meet Taliban leaders. Germany softened their stance to aid them. They announced today in Kabul that European Union also thinking on same line to engage them and help them to establish and some sort of stability come to Afghanistan.
Much for the question. That was indeed not a question for Christian, who was only taking the points on migration. I can understand your interest in the subject, but as I said at the beginning of this midday briefing, we are not in a position to take questions in relation to foreign affairs now, because our team dealing with foreign affairs is in Slovenia, and they have a press conference as we speak. So I will invite you to get in touch with Peter Stano, or he will get in touch with you after this midday briefing in order to provide an answer to this question, which belongs to the broader questions which were touched upon during that meeting of ministers in Slovenia. Are there any other questions for us today on any other topic? Yes, go ahead.
It's Tomasz Bielecki of Deutsche Welle and Gazeta Wyborcza. I have a question on Polish recovery and resilience plan, which has been the subject of quite hot debate in Poland recently. That's why I'd like to ask, because Commissioner Wojciechowski is, as he announced at his Twitter account, is going to give today some statements and press conference on the Polish recovery plan. I'd like to make sure whether it should be treated as an official European Commission's supplement or follow-up to what Vice President Dombrovskis and Commissioner Gentiloni said 2 days ago in the European Parliament while representing the European Commission. And the second question, are there any news about the new deadline for the Polish plan, which did pass a month ago? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions, Tomasz. So in relation to the first one, what I can tell you is that according to my latest information just before starting this meeting, the press point by Commissioner Wojciechowski in Warsaw would focus, to the best of my knowledge, again on issues related to his portfolio. So that's what I know in relation to that press point, but we can see the subjects covered, of course, after that press conference. And in relation to your second question on any news on a deadline or the timing for the analysis of the plan, I do not have any news to provide you in relation to what we have said yesterday, the day before yesterday, and every day since August, since the beginning of August. Thank you. Are there any additional questions for us today? That is not the case, so I wish you a very good Friday afternoon and weekend, and we are available to take any other questions that you may have in the afternoon. Thank you. See you soon.